We're back at Capital Casino in Sacramento, California, looking to play some 1-3. Buy in for the game for $500. Sit around for the first 10-15 minutes without getting anything playable. After two players limp in, I look down at ace queen of diamonds from the button. Definitely going to be putting in a raise. I make it 20. End up getting two callers for the 20. So we're going to end up going three ways to a flop with $64 in the pot. The flop comes out 7-5-4 with two diamonds. So we did flop the nut flush draw with two overcards, but it is a coordinated board and should hit my opponent's range fairly hard. The big blind decides to lead out for $30. The next player puts in the quick call, and with a nut flush draw, I'm not going anywhere, so I put in the call. And the three of us see a turn card with $154 in the pot, and it's the jack of clubs. Now, one might think that this might scare an opponent who might be leading with one pair type of hand, like a 7 with an 8 kicker or a 6 kicker or something like that. But my opponent in the big blind wasn't scared whatsoever. He decides to bet out for $60. So I think he has a hand that he's not afraid of a one pair holding, like, say, ace jack or king jack or something else like that. So I'm not sure whether my pair of aces or queens would be good if I catch one on the end. But I know my flush draw would be good. And if he has a hand as strong as I think he does, I think he'll pay off on the river. So I think this is an easy decision. I'm just going to put in the $60 and hope for a diamond on the river. And that's exactly what we get. We get the deuce of diamonds come on the end. My opponent thinks for about 10-15 seconds before putting out a bet for $100. This is a perfect situation. I have the nuts. I have an opponent with a strong hand betting into me. My stack size, if I put in the call, I have about 270 left. So I think there's only one option here, and that's to jam. So I announce that I'm all in, toss in one chip. They ask for a count, so I count out my stack. Player goes into the tank and was probably in there for about a minute and a half. He spent another 15-30 seconds stacking out his chips, moving them around, making it look like he wants to call. And he kind of sits back there and waits for a moment before finally he decides on putting in the chips. Yes, he does. He slides them right in there. I tell him I have it. I put my camera down so I can turn my cards over and show him the nut flush. He mucks his hand, and we take down this nice pot. First pot of the day, and it is a good one. All right, we're 1 for 1 on hands, and here we are. There's a bunch of limpers, a whole bunch of limpers. And I looked down at king, queen suited in the small blind and decided, okay, maybe I can just take down all this dead money. I make it 25. End up getting two callers for the 25. So we're going to go three ways to a flop with $81 in the pot. Flop comes out ace, jack, 5 with one heart. Not great for our particular hand. We do have a gut shot and some backdoor flush draws. But I decided to go ahead and lead anyway, and trying to just represent that I have a strong hand. If nobody has a ace, or at least a strong ace, it's going to be hard for them to call down. So I bet 25, and I end up getting one caller for the $25. So we're going to go heads up to a turn card. And the turn card comes as a queen of clubs. So I wasn't planning on barreling unless I picked up equity, and the queen of clubs is just enough for me to do that. I was really hoping for a heart instead. I go ahead and fire again, this time for $60. I want to make it look like I have a strong ace, and this is the way I would play a strong ace. He puts in the quick call, so I'm pretty sure he has an ace also. River card comes as 8 of clubs, completes absolutely nothing, and I think he just has a weak ace. So I jam. This player is going to have a really hard time calling with a one pair type of hand. Even if he has a hand like ace 9 or ace 10, he has to put me on a very strong range with me raising and going 3 streets of betting. So I think he's going to lay down. I haven't been getting out of line at all. Only showed down one hand, and that was a nut flush. So I think he's going to give me some respect. He has about 190 behind. I have him covered. And after thinking for a good 20-30 seconds, he just decides on letting it go. But I can tell it was a painful lay down for him, and we got this one through. So you don't always have to make the best hand. You just have to bet sometimes like you have the best hand. Just a reminder, we're going to be having a meetup game at Hustler Casino on January 9th from 12 to 6 p.m. It's going to be a 2-3 no limit game with a $100 to $500 buy-in. I'm going to be co-hosting with Fish Poker, Andrew Locke, Happy Face Holdem, and Think Blue Poker. It's going to be a great time. I look forward to seeing you all. sign up on Poker Atlas for advanced seating. Also, I'd like to say a special hello to DD, River, and Bollywood, and thank you for supporting the channel by playing on Poker Bros. There was a $7 straddle with 2 other callers, and I have ace-10 offsuit in the cutoff. I really should be 3-betting this or folding, but I decided just to call along with everyone else, and we get to see a flop that comes 10-9-3 rainbow. So excellent flop for top pair, top kicker. It gets checked over to me. I ended up betting for $20. I get one call from the player in the small blind, so we're going to go heads up to a turn with $68 in the pot. Turn card comes is a 8 of spades. Not really a good card for my particular hand. A lot of the draws that would be out against me would get there. So when it's checked to me, I decided to be cautious and check this one back. And then we get a 7 of hearts on the river. Another horrible card. Player checks. I check back real quick. He shows ace-3 of spades. So I missed out on getting some value on that turn by not betting. So I was a little disappointed I wasn't aggressive enough on that last hand. So here I pick up 2 kings from under the gun. I open for a raise to 20. End up getting a caller from the middle position player, a caller from another middle position player, then a caller from a player in the cutoff, and then the button decides to put in a raise to 75. This player was playing extremely tight, and I played with him before, and this is no way whatsoever a weak hand or a bluff. This is just basically the nuts or close to it every single time. And my first instinct was, I think this is a fold. I just got to fold the kings here. I mean, I think he has aces, kings, maybe queens. I don't think he would even do this with ace-king. But then I talked myself out of it, saying, you can't be that nitty. You got kings. That's a great hand. You got to at least see the flop. So I go, okay, maybe I'll call. And I go, I can't call. Then I'll invite the other 3 players in there. And I go, well, I don't want to raise. I might run into a bigger hand.
I know what you're feeling. Let it go. Let it go. You're the champ.
But just like Apollo Creed, I couldn't let it go. And I was the champ, and I was going to make an aggressive play, and I ended up raising to $220. And as soon as those chips crossed the line, I was staring at the player on the button, and he looked as happy as he can be without actually being happy. And then the player from middle position jams all in for $544. And I have to tell you, the guy on the button, I was pretty sure he had aces. The guy in middle position definitely has aces. There is no way in heaven on earth that this guy is going to be jamming with anything less than 2 aces. The other middle position player gets out of the way, and now it's to the player in the cutoff who only has $200 starting stack. This is the first hand he's played, and he just puts it all in. I mean, he's there to gamble. He likes to do that, and I don't mind it. The player on the button, of course, he sticks his chips in. He was happy as can be to get those suckers in the middle of the pot. I go, he has aces too, because he knows this guy won't be doing it with anything but aces. So he has aces. What did I step into? All right, I'm up against 2 players with aces and 1 player who can have any 2 cards. And it's going to cost me $324 to call. So I start doing some math, trying to figure out whether I'm getting the right price. So I figure I have 20% equity, because the good thing about having 2 players with aces, they're not going to flop a bigger set. The bad thing, of course, is you're not going to make a flush to win the pot down. But I have a 20% chance of hitting a set, and if I have 20% equity in the pot, it's a call. And I did the math, and it came out to be a call. I hate it. All right. So with a little of $16 plus EV on this crazy ass hand, we go to a flop, which comes down 10-9 deuce. Turn card's a 7. The player on the end of the table starts celebrating because he has Jack-8 offsuit, made a straight. And lucky for me, I catch a king on the river. Wow, I am so lucky. First player turned over aces. Of course, everyone knew he had that. I show my kings. The other player shows that he had aces also. We figured that out too. So I played this hand really bad. I probably should have folded, but if I didn't fold, I probably should have just called. Then the player in middle position would have definitely raised, and the player on the button would be all in, and I'll be able to dump my pair of kings and look like a genius until the river card came a king. So sometimes it's better to be lucky than to play good, but I'm happy with the call I made on the very end, because I had $324 call for about $340 worth of equity. So the other player was extremely happy. His name is Mike, and he says, yeah, tell him all about me. And I go, okay, Mike is a gambler, and he loves to play poker.
It's really hard to lay down kings, especially when you're faced with such a small 3-bet. I think probably you should at least call and set mine with the kings, because folding kings there is a little bit too nitty. You don't have to raise them, but if you do raise them a smaller amount. And instead of having a predetermined aggressive outlook on everything, use your own common sense. Use your spider senses. Come on. You can read people. You kind of have an idea about these things. If you think you might be beat, listen to yourself. You're probably right. All those years of playing poker, you probably have some sort of sixth sense that you need to hook into.
That's one of the craziest hands I've seen in a long time. After I got lucky on that hand, I took a little picture of my chip stack. We got about 1450 in front of us, so we're up about 950 so far in the day. I was doing a mid-session update and telling everyone how great this Andrew Lock t-shirt was and how lucky you get when you have a Lock It Up t-shirt. We head back inside to find 2 9s from Under the Gun +1, open for a raise to 15, end up getting 3 callers for the 15. So we're going to go 4 ways to a flop with $64 in the pot. So the flop comes out 4-3-3 with 2 spades. So very interesting flop. I think there's 2 ways to go about playing this hand. One is just to fire at it with a half to 3/4 size bet and try to deny equity from all those other players. And the other one is to check it just to see what happens and see if we can just navigate from there. I feel one of my opponents would probably be a little bit over aggressive with this. I don't think anyone has a 3, but they could be betting a flush draw or maybe some sort of straight draw very, very strong. As it turned out, the villain first to act after me puts in a bet for $45. The next player puts in a call rather quickly. The third player stares at his cards for a little bit before making the call. And at this point, I thought maybe I can go for a check raise and really just shut everyone out. But if anyone had a hand like 5-6 or a flush draw, I don't think they would be folding. So I decided just to call and see what the turn card would bring. And of course, it would come the 7 of spades. So the 5-6 gets there, the spades get there. Just about everything gets there, except for a pair of 9s. I still have an overpair, but I'm going to check this and see what the action is. I think maybe someone had a straight draw and got there, or at least someone would have a flush draw and got there. So I check it over to the initial aggressor. He ends up betting for $80. And the next player to act doesn't think too long before shoving all in for $158. The third player ends up making the fold, and it comes around to me, and I do have a flush draw with my 9 of spades, but it's probably no good. So I just let this one go. I think I lost the minimum on this. The initial bettor finally makes a call for the 158. I don't think he's very strong. He seems to be more of a crying call than anything else. River card comes as a king of clubs, so we still miss everything. The person rolls over the jack 5 of spades. The initial bettor was just tapping his cards like he didn't have much at all. I'm pretty sure we're ahead on the flop, but I don't think that jack 5 of spades was going anywhere.
I think the best play there is to go for the check raise and charge all those draws that you think are out there the maximum. You may lose to a flush draw, you may lose to a straight draw, you might even lose to a bigger pair or 3 3s, but you have to charge the draws when you can charge them.
The action started drying up a little bit. Here I'm in the big blind. It's a limp pot. I get a free look at a flop, which I'll be more than happy to take. So we're going to go 6 ways to a flop with $18 in the pot. Flop comes out 9-8-4 with 2 clubs. I do have the jack of clubs, so I got a top pair and some backdoor straight and flush draws, but let's face it, limp pot, I don't care. I'm just going to check fold this if anyone bets. Ends up getting checked around, and the 3 diamonds comes on the turn. This is probably the best card I can see besides a 9. So I decided to just take a stab for $20, and surprisingly, I end up getting 2 callers for the $20. So thinking that someone is on some sort of straight draw, maybe a flush draw, or maybe they're just calling with a pair of 8s. River card comes as a 5 of diamonds, completes the backdoor flush, also completes all the straight draws that I can think of. So I just check it. It gets checked around. I show my pair of 9s, and it is good. The other player had pocket 7s in the cutoff. There were 3 limpers, and looking down at ace-queen offsuit on the button is a very good hand, so I decided to raise to 25, just trying to force out all those limpers or punish them for playing weak hands. End up getting a caller, so we're going to go heads up to a flop with $60 in the pot. The under-the-gun player has a very short stack, maybe another, I don't know, $50, $60 left behind. So any kind of flop, I'm just going to go with it. Flop comes out king, jack, queen. He checks it immediately. I put out enough to put them all in, and before I even get across the line, he's mucking, so we take down another small pot. The game is definitely slowing down. There's a limp under the gun. We're in the hijack with ace, jack suited. Put in the raise to 20. He gets folded back around to the big blind who puts in the call, and so does the initial limper. So we go 3 ways to a flop, and the flop was a beautiful king 10 deuce with 2 clubs. So an overcard, a straight draw, and a flush draw. We flop the world basically. They check it over to me. I bet out 20, and they couldn't throw their cards away fast enough. So action's drying up. It's time to pack it up and head on out. Thanks for watching, guys. Really do appreciate the support. I hope you all had happy holidays and have a happy new year coming up. I think 2022 is going to be a heck of a lot better than 2021. And hope to see you guys down at Hustler Casino on January 9th. If you're in the area, it'd be great to hook up with you guys and play a little poker. And for today, we end up winning a little over $1,000. So that's pretty good. I'm happy with that. And we got lucky with those kings, but sometimes you need to get lucky once in a while. Until next time, good luck at the table, guys. We'll see you soon.